What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm good, man. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Of course, man. I'm sorry about some of the confusion earlier. I
It happens. We're all good. All good, man.
yeah, but it's good to see you. Last time I talked to you was a couple years ago when you guys were here for Louder Than Life, and it's been a hot second.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what year would that be? Louder Than Life. It doesn't feel like that long ago, but
It's
then
a couple years. Yeah, so not
I
terribly.
feel it's all segmented in, like writing, recording, this and that and this and that, which means that it happened within a period that feels like the last time we did that thing, which means yesterday. If I don't know if that makes sense. So,
Yeah, yeah.
but
Time's just it's kind of wibbly wobbly. Like, okay, yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
that sounds about right. But it's yeah, it becomes a blur. But I'm looking forward to having you guys back in Louisville for our big show coming up November 30th. You guys are going to be hitting the road, and this is gonna be a fun year for you guys. I mean, just announced the tour. You just dropped a new song, so like you were saying, like everything kind of blended together time wise. So,
Hmm.
was that time period with, writing the new music and everything that everything was, that blur in your head?
Yeah, and I mean, it's a good blur to be in.
Yeah.
It's I don't even know where to begin with that. It's like we because you the only thing is that it's a strong contrast, I guess, to what it meant. The last album was our COVID album,
Hmm.
basically, which we tried really hard to make sure that it wasn't a damn COVID album, because I did give myself two songs lyrically, and I'm
Hmm.
sure the angst spilled into a lot of the other things, but well, I guess the big one was Hazmat Suit. That was also written early in the period of Dance Devil Dance that became the song where all of the,
Yeah.
all of the stuff that you felt at the time went into that one. And but that one had some time to to become whatever it needed to be.
Hmm.
And with this new one that has an amazing title that I can't tell you yet, but let me assure you that it's a very good title.
Uh,
Uh, but it went through a kind of different kind of journey out of necessity, of course, because that this is now what you do. You tour, you write, you record, and explore. And I don't know which version I prefer, especially because when it come right after each other,
yeah.
it's it should be in a way as you might maybe you're supposed to feel that the one where you get to really take time to let things sink in and everything, that you should prefer that way. But I don't know. I don't know if that's just, you just jack off your own ego with that or whatever. And there's something to be said about art that is anyway meant to reflect whatever's going on now, now, now.
Mhm.
That's kind of what we're doing as a band is, never write the same song twice and be really honest about where you're at any given moment. And one way of being very honest, for better or worse, is kind of do what I'm doing now. Save things and then think about what you're going to say in half an hour after it's already been said. So there's something about writing between tours, figuring out on the road together, using a sound check to, hey, that thing we were doing, like, and the spontaneity that gets to happen a bit when it's like that, which ends up that there's a song on this next album that has, I've been doing some piano playing live with the band and all that. I'm by no means a great piano player. I'm marginally better than I was when I was 8. Uh, but one thing that happened is that I was working on a thing. John goes on stage because it's sound check, and I used the piano sound check to mess with a thing. And he goes on to drums a bit prematurely and starts doing a beat to that. I'm like, oh, I'm Elton John. This is so cool. So therefore, there's one song that has me play. I'm in the band. I finally joined the band. They let me in the band. I get to play an instrument in the band on one song they let me do. And would that have happened if it wasn't, this kind of stream of consciousness kind of album? I'm sorry, I'm rambling.
No, no, that's I mean that was actually something I was going to ask you about. It's like being able to kind of express that various levels of creativity with the band is
Mm.
you playing piano for for a song and everything. Like how do you balance that thought process when you guys are writing and coming up with new music? It's like, okay, this is what people would typically expect from Avatar. This is something that's completely outside of what we normally do. How do you blend those two together in a way that, you still feel comfortable with from an art side, but also from, a expectation side?
Mm. I honestly don't worry about it very much. And I think maybe I've been thinking about it in a healthy amount through the years, or I don't know what it is, but I feel it doesn't become a big problem because I think we all agree that Avatar is a heavy metal band. And all of us in the band, we agree on that because there are all these kind of things we could do and sometimes do on the side, like in what kind of music and stuff we like to make. Uh, but it's just and to different degrees that might anyway end up in Avatar because we also like to blend things and experiment with it. But the fundamental is it's Avatar. Avatar is a heavy metal band.
Hmm.
And it's a band that now will have made released 10 albums. So there's a history and a tradition to respect while always trying to push forward and finding a new challenge and not repeating the same song twice, blah, blah, blah. But all of that is important despite the blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
Um, but, and it's also the five of us,
Mhm.
knock on wood. No one's quitting yet at this moment. But it's always supposed to be human beings in a room together playing. And those two things, just by committing to those two things, heavy metal band, and they can play around. It can be a bit of tango and a reggae or whatever for a couple of bars. Who cares? But the fundamentals is the heavy metal band and humans playing together. And even though I'm surrounded by these great, amazing players, they're also trapped in their own bodies. They're trapped within their influences. They're trapped within growing up to become whoever they are. We're all prisoners of our own existences, which is pretty good in this case because that means you're gonna end up sounding like yourself no matter what you do.
Yeah.
Kind of the idealized version of this is that uh, in the past when confronting this, oh, now we're doing all kinds of things. Yeah, but so did Queen, so did the Beatles, and they always sounded like Queen and the Beatles, and we're not nearly as talented as they were. So we're gonna sound like Avatar no matter how hard we try to be something else. So it's not an issue in that sense. So we go crazy. And then I think our tastes in what we like Avatar to be, which is we like to play around. It's a little sandbox where we do all kinds of things, but we're also suckers for a good chorus. So you get a bit of that anyway because that's what we like. And we also like crazy avant-garde stuff. But I think as a band, we kind of like if we can trick people into vibing with that weird avant-garde thing, because we played it 4 times in a row and repetition legitimizes. Um, so you have all these influences that are way out there, and then we find a way to kind of distill it and turn it to 4 4 4 on the floor, boom boom bop kick ass heavy metal.
Yeah.
There's something to that. So for all these reasons, it never really becomes an issue. And if it would really become an issue one day, I still think we would have to kind of still do what we do now, kind of go with the flow, because with each album, I kind of make peace with myself that, oh yeah, everybody might hate this and that's okay. Hasn't happened yet, but for each album, for since at least since I would say Black Waltz, probably, where I went, this might suck to everyone except for me or us in the band. But it's cool because everybody else can move on. We don't get to move on. We have to live with this for the rest of our life. So what do we think?
Yeah.
And that always has been the most important thing.
I think that I mean, that's a very good way to look at it. Is like, fans, hopefully more will come than go. But
Yeah, of
you're
course.
always that constant, and I feel like you hear, a lot of that in the new song with Captain Goat, with kind of blending a lot of styles. It's like listening to a metal sea shanty, and
Hmm.
all that. So, getting to express all of that, I feel like is really cool. And like you said, going back to, I've been a fan for like basically when I was introduced to the Black Waltz album back in the day, I was like, hell yeah, like I've been on board.
Yeah,
But
thank you.
yeah, but you're looking at 20 plus years, as a band, and next year will be the 20th anniversary of the debut full length album,
Yeah.
with Thoughts of No Tomorrow. So when you look back at that whole process and the journey and the evolution of Avatar, what do you think has been, I mean, we kind of touched on what has been the constant, but what's something that you feel has evolved with the band since that time?
Well, well, at this point, I guess us, I guess is the answer, right? Because so it's been us for over 2 decades now. And it's been, yeah, Simon left and Tim joined us, and he's new guy because he's only been for a decade and a half with us. It's crazy. And but also we knew him since day one. He was like when we had single digit amount of fans, Tim was one of those. He bought Thoughts on Tomorrow on the release date,
Mm,
uh, when nobody else cared. So he was around already back then.
mhm,
I think the whole journey of figuring out, because it was important to us to be a band and to be us in a band and do this together. And basically, the job description
mhm.
for this that got very clear to us through the years has been, what are we actually here to do?
Yeah.
We are here to write and perform our own material in the studio and on stage, and to take that, whatever we're doing, as far as possible, career speaking, commercially speaking, whatever,
Mhm.
whatever you want to call that, take it as far as possible in a way where we remain friends. The end.
Yep.
That's the param we and that while we remain friends, the fact that we survived, we all our first serious girlfriends knew each other back then, like it's this tiny clique,
Mhm.
and as teenage boys into the wild years of our 20s with all the good and awesome and terrible decisions and how interchangeable they were,
Yeah.
into kind of growing up. And some people, and some have kids, and we just grew up and you have a mortgage or whatever. And all of this is happening to the band, and it's still a band, and it's still the same band,
Mhm.
and that's incredible. And that has meant we have evolved in so many ways, while at the same time,
Yeah.
I don't know, we had an old friend being in the dressing room with us after a show, and it's like, I haven't spoken to my friends like this since I was 17. And I guess that's a problem because it's still us in a dressing room, that there's some certain stunted growth, arrested development that happens because we get away with being boys in a locker room for the rest of our lives. But we'll take some of that too. It's fun.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it makes it more fun with, being out at shows and being on stage together and everything. And with the, In The Airwaves Tour, recently announced you guys are going to be here again. That's going to be on November 30th, Old Foresters Paris Town Hall, Alt 1051's Not So Silent Night. Very much looking forward to having you guys back here and, leaning into the aspects of, the theatrics and the performance aspect of, what Avatar is. Something that was brought up to me is like, what is, when it comes to touring, what is the most unmetal thing that you guys put on your tour rider?
The rider is pretty standard, I would think. You got your avocados and whatnot. But I think what would historically be considered least metal thing, but I think it's a pretty normal sight nowadays, is you got your workout case, and at any given time we have at least 4 to 5 yoga mats with us wherever the band is,
Uh,
of various thickness and types. Uh, because in periods I've done literal yoga, but then for any workout form on any disgusting concrete floor or wherever, they're very useful to stay on. Uh, So, but I mean, so historically, they're not very metal in the sense that I struggle to have imagined that Black Sabbath traveled with them in 75 or Lemmy ever having done anything with a yoga mat that maybe put ashes from a cigarette on it. I don't know. Uh, Feel pretty damn metal to me because it's also, there's as many definitions of what heavy metal is as there are people into it. But there's certainly something about doing what needs to be done, that ethic,
yeah.
doing what you need to do. And there's certain things that I need to do to achieve what I want to achieve in life. And some of that uh, includes, getting my face dangerously close to my own crotch in different angles to be nice and limber on stage, right? So it's metal in that sense.
Okay. I mean, I'm here for it. Hey, they do heavy metal
See
yoga.
how I could say dirty things in a way where it still fits radio?
Hey, that's totally fine with me. You can go all out. But again, I mean, it's gonna be great having you guys here, and
Oh
as
yeah.
we wrap up with everything here, one of the things that I wanted to kind of get back into is with Captain Goat. We're playing it here on Alt 1051, and hopefully gonna have a very very long life here on the station as we get closer and closer to the tour and having you guys here, but with Captain Goat out, more new music in the works. You can't share the album title or anything like that, I get. But what
Well, it certainly has a title. As a matter of fact, I'm reading the title right now as we talk. That's a good title, man.
I see you're
I
teasing.
wish you knew. Oh, and I also know the release date. And if when it's a great date to release an album. It's
You're killing me. You're killing me with this. But so with the way that Captain Goat sounds, and you talking about all of these various influences that you have and doing things different, what do you think is going to be the standout thing that people can expect with this new album of what's going to be different, but also what you think they'll be most excited for?
Oh, I can't predict that part. People were very excited about Henrik being a merman in the music video.
That's
Which that one I actually could have predicted if I think about it. Uh, but what people no, I'm as curious about that as anyone else. What I feel is that we outdid ourselves in a lot of way. I feel I got to really challenge myself once again as a singer uh, in what I do, which probably means that I mean, we've done a lot of melodic vo things vocally 30 years, but maybe the melodic parts are more melodic than ever before. And I get to take a trip where and no one is gonna hear this when they listen to this, but I make a journey in a song where in my mind I go from, I don't know, I go from Leonard Cohen to George Michael to Hansi Kirsch in Blind Guardian. I hear that journey. Then yeah, I wish people listening to this, once you hear the album, tell me which song I was talking about. And I will be impressed if they agree, but that's what you carry with you with these things. So
yeah.
there are all these things I get to do as a singer, a wide palette that I'm very pleased about and very excited about. And I think, I mean, a lot of this album, there's the red thread ended up being letting the subconscious guide you. There's a thing about trust what's beautiful, and that I mean, there's a lot of dreams, things that took place in dreams, or just approaching the songwriting from that kind of twilight place of your mind, and that subconsciousness that it connects with for, I think, us as musicians. And it's a trippy album in that sense, and taking some certain twists and turns. And hopefully that translates so that people get to go on that trip with us. And I mean, it's always done through the scope again of heavy metal, kick-ass riff, let's go. So your neck hurt, oh, but it will, all of that. But it's also certainly it is a dreamy, strange quality to a lot of this album. And I look forward to see whether or not that how that connects with people.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to hearing it. Our mystery to be released album from Avatar, and
With George Michael vocals and dreamy, creamy lyrics.
oh man, that in itself is enough of a tease for me, where it's like, all right, let's go, let's go. So I'm looking forward to having you guys here, November 30th, Old Forces Paris Town Hall here in Louisville. I appreciate you taking the time to talk, man, and
Well, I appreciate your time.
yeah,
Thank
we're
you.
gonna keep rocking the hell out of Captain Goat until we get your piano songs and George Michael's and all of it.
Yeah, a lot of Elton John, George Michael, Leonard Cohen, your typical heavy metal album. That's all I gotta
Right,
say, you know.
that's right. I'm here for it. All right, I
So
appreciate it.
am I. Thank you so much, man.
Hey, we'll talk soon.
Thank you. Bye.